Hello everyone, I am Dr. Parthibatim Sharkar, Coordinator, Startup and Innovation Cell, NIT Agartala. I'll be providing a brief orientation session on National Innovation and Startup Policy framed by the Ministry of Higher Education. Now my presentation will include a small background introduction. Then I will discuss about the function of Innovation Council. Then I will discuss about National Innovation and Startup Policy in details and what we have done in innovation policy and startup policy related to NIT Agartala. Now, with respect to the focus of Institute Innovation Council, in most of the higher educational institute, they have their own Institute Innovation Council. The major focus of Institute Innovation Council is to create a vibrant local innovation ecosystem, to start up supporting the mechanism in the higher education institute, to provide or prepare the institute for auto ranking institutions on innovation achievements and framework, and to establish functional ecosystem for scouting ideas and pre-incubation of ideas, to provide or develop better cognitive ability for technology students. So these are the major focus of Institute Innovation Council. Now, what are the function of ICs is that generally to conduct various innovation and entrepreneurship related activities as prescribed by the central MIC in time-bound fashions, and to identify and reward and share the success stories. And generally ICs regularly organize periodic workshops, seminars, interactions with entrepreneurship, investors, professionals, and create a mentor pool for student innovators. They also help, or ICs also help in networking with peers and national entrepreneurships for developing the organizations, and to create institute innovations portal to highlight the major innovative projects carried out by the institute's faculty and the students, and also to organize hackathons, idea competitions, mini challenges with the involvement of industries. So the function of ICs is very important because the ICs helps in shaping out or shaping in the culture of innovation and entrepreneurship in the institute. Now generally what is actually innovation? So this word innovation actually derived from this Latin verb innovare. So the meaning is generally innovation, we can very easily say it as a means to improve or replace something, for example a process or a product or a service. Now the question comes, why we require innovations? Generally most of the companies are cost competitive, so to maintain in the long run their cost competitiveness, they have to go for some innovation so that they can have a highly efficient processes for maintaining their price leaderships. Okay, so process of optimization and continuous improvement in terms of costs are very important for those type of companies. Then there are some companies that strive for differentiation strategies that needs innovation to develop unique or distinguishing features for their competitors. And then there are many startup companies are there, they launch their activities by developing some innovative product or process or service or some business plans. Now generally for innovations people should have the right kind of mindset. Now generally the most important is that he should think differently. So normal thinking might not help in basically innovation. So generally you should question each and every rules, and you should be slightly different, and do not have to always follow the conventional methods. So you have to break the rules. That is one mindset. Then you should be able to collect ideas everywhere, so that you need innovation ideas, and you can get innovation ideas from many of the places. Then sometimes you need to visualize that what you are thinking, how your product will look like or innovation will look like. So you should be very much aware that, or you should be very much sufficiently strong enough to meet all the hurdles that will come for your that will come. So that you need to make sure that you should believe in making the impossible things what you think is possible. And then you should have a team, innovation team, that should think differently. All like-minded peoples you should not have in your group or a team. So they should have a different thinking perspective and different thinking style. Then will your innovation idea will be there in the team. Now, what are the different types of innovations? So we have basically process improvement and organizational innovations, product development, service innovations, business model innovations. So these are the different types of innovations. Now, apart from them, there are two innovations. We call it incremental innovations and disruptive innovations. So incremental innovations are, for example, the optimization of existing processes or procedure or a product line extension. And you have a disruptive innovations like, for example, major innovations like iTunes or Google Android, etc. So these are often referred to as digital disruptions. So innovation that change the logic of existing markets, we call it as a disruptive innovations. Now, what was the necessity of innovation and startup policy? So India aspires to become $5 trillion economy by 2024. So to reach this $5 trillion economy, it needs to evolve some system and mechanism to convert the present demographic dividends into high quality, technical, human resource capable of doing some cutting edge research and innovation and deep tech entrepreneurships. In India, innovation is still not the epicenter of education. So these guidelines will enable institutions to actively support their faculty, staff, and students to participate in innovation and entrepreneurship related activities, and thus encouraging students and faculty to consider startup and entrepreneurship as a career option. Now, so these guidelines also will facilitate Ministry of Human Resource Development in bringing uniformity across all higher educational institute in terms of IPR ownership management, technology licensing, and institutional startup policy, and thus enabling creation of robust innovation and startup ecosystem across all higher educational institutes. So this is the main objective of this particular National Innovation and Startup Policy 2019 for students and faculty. Now, what are the key areas of this Innovation and Startup Policy 2019 is? First is that strategy and governance. So then startup enabling institution infrastructures, nurturing innovation and startups, product ownership rights for technologies developed at institute, organizational capacity, human resource and incentives, then creating innovation pipeline and pathway for entrepreneurs at institute level, then norms for faculty startups, then pedagogy and learning interventions for entrepreneurship development, collaboration, co-creation, business relationship and knowledge exchanges, and entrepreneurial impact assessment. So these are the broad or thrust areas recognized by the NISP 2019 document. So we'll just briefly see each one of these. Now, strategies and governance. So entrepreneurship promotions and developed as per the document, it should be one of the major dimensions of higher education institute strategy. So implementation of entrepreneurial vision at the institute should be achieved through mission statement rather than through the stringent control system. So entrepreneurial agenda should be responsibility of a senior person in the institute, maybe in the level of dean, director or equivalent position, to bring about the required commitment and must be well understood by the higher authorities. Now, for expediting the decision making, the hierarchical barriers should be minimized and the individual autonomy and ownership of the initiative should be promoted. And importance of innovation and entrepreneurship agenda should be known across the institute and should be promoted and highlighted at institution programs such as conferences, convocations, workshops, etc. So in the light of this particular document, every institute were asked to prepare their own innovations and startup policy. So students and faculty startup policy and action plan should be formulated at the university level, which is in line with the current document along with well-defined short-term and long-term goals. An institute should also try to develop and implement innovation and entrepreneurship strategy and policy for entire institute in order to integrate the entrepreneurship activities across the various centers, departments, faculties within the institutes. Now, generally, the product that are developed, so it should be product to market strategy for startups should be developed by the institute on case to case basis, and higher education institute should be the driving force in developing the entrepreneurship culture in its vicinity in the region, social and community level. And strategic international partnerships should be developed using bilateral and multilateral channels with international innovation clusters and other relevant organizations. Now for all this, the fund is required. So resource mobilization is an important factor for supporting the pre-incubation, incubation and infrastructure and facilities. Now it has been as per the guidelines, the investment at the entrepreneurial activity should be a part of the institution and financial strategy. So minimum of 1% of fund for the of the total annual budget of the institute should be allocated for funding and supporting the innovation and startups related to activities through creation of separate innovation fund. So strategy should also be there to involve raising fund from diverse sources like from both state government and central government such as DST, DBT, MHRD, ICT, as well as from non-governmental sources should be encouraged. And to support these technology incubators, academic institution also can approach private and corporate sectors to generate funds under corporate social responsibility as per section 135 of the Company Act 2013. So institute may also raise funding through sponsorship and donations. Institute should actively engage alumni network for promoting innovation and entrepreneurships. Now next, startup enabling institutional infrastructures. So all the higher education institutes are advised to create facilities within the institution for supporting pre-incubations, like for example ISCs as per the guidelines of MHRD's Innovation Cell, EDC, IEDC, New Generation IEDC, Innovation Cell, Startup Cells, etc. and incubation accelerations by mobilizing resources from internal and external sources. The pre-incubation and incubation facility generally should be accessible to student, staffs and faculty for 24/7. Okay, and pre-incubation facilities may or may not be separately registered entity on a special purpose vehicle, but generally the policy recommends that there should be a separate entity, preferably registered under the section 8 of Company Act 2013 or a society registered under the Society Registration Act with independent governance structure. The next thrust area was nurturing innovation and startup. So all higher education institutes are expected to establish process and mechanism for easy creation and nurturing of startups, enterprises by the students and staffs and faculty members with alumni and potential startup applicants even from outside the institution. So while defining the processes, institutes should ensure that to achieve the following points: to provide incubation support, to allow the licensing of IPR from institute to the startup companies, to allow setting up a startup and working, and to allow the faculties and others to work for part-time while studying also for the students. So students who are under incubations but pursuing some entrepreneurship ventures while studying should be allowed to use their address in the institute to register their company. This is a very important thing. Next is student entrepreneurship should be allowed to sit for exam even if their attendance is less, provided that they should take due permission from the institute and also should check with the institute rules. Student entrepreneurship should be allowed to sit for the examination even if the attendance is late, provided it is with due permission from the institute. The higher education institute should allow students to take a semester break or year break depending upon the decision of the review committee constituted by the institute. Institute also should look into provision of accommodation of entrepreneurs within the campus for some period of time. So they should also allow faculty and staffs to take a semester off or year off for pursuing their entrepreneurship ideas. To start a part-time and full-time MS, MBA and PGDM programs where one can get a degree while incubating or nurturing a startup company. So institute also facilitates startup activities, technology development by allowing student, faculty, staffs to use institute infrastructure and facilities. So these are basically the nurturing of innovation and startups from the institute side. Now, when the institute provides all these facilities, in return of the services and facilities provided by the institute may take 2 to 9.5% of the equity or stake in that particular startup or company based on the brand use, faculty contribution, support provided and use of institute's IPR. For staff and faculty, institute can take no more than 20% of the share of the staff or a faculty while drawing full salary from the institution. However, this share should be within the 9.5% cap of the company shares listed above. And there is no restriction on the shares that faculty or staff can take as long as they do not spend more than 20% of the office time on the startup in advisory or consultative role. Now these are some of the more guidelines that are provided. Now, for example, institute could extend this startup facility to the alumni of the institute as well as to the outside also. So institutions might also need to update, change, revise performance evaluation policies for the faculty and staff as stated above. Now with related to the product ownership and right for technologies developed at the institute. So when the institute facilities funds are used substantially or when IPR is developed as a part of the curriculum or academic activity, IPR is to be jointly owned by the inventors and by the institute. So inventor and institute could together license the product or IPR to any commercial organization with inventor having the primary say. So all these things are there in the respective IPR policy of the institute. With respect to organizational capacity, human resource and incentives, so institutes should recruit staffs that have a strong innovation and entrepreneurial or industrial experience, behavior and attitude. So this will help in fostering the innovation and entrepreneurship culture. So all the institutes as per the guidelines will have to create human resources particularly related to this innovation and entrepreneurship cultures. Faculty and department of the institute have to work in coherence with cross-departmental linkages, should be strengthened through shared faculty, cross-faculty teaching and research in order to gain maximum utilization of the internal resources and knowledges. So faculty and staff should also be encouraged to do courses on innovation, entrepreneurship management and venture developments. And in order to attract and retain right people, the institute should develop academic and non-academic incentives and reward mechanisms for all staffs and stakeholders that actively contribute and support entrepreneurship agenda and activities. Now, creating innovation pipeline and pathways for entrepreneurship at institute level. To ensure exposure of maximum student to innovation and pre-incubation activities at their early stage, and to support the pathway for ideation to innovation to market, mechanisms should be devised at the institute level. So first is that to spreading the awareness among the students, faculty and staff about the value of entrepreneurship and its role in career development and employability should be a part of the institution entrepreneurship agenda. Then students and staffs generally should be taught that innovation is a mechanism to solve the problem of the society and consumers. Entrepreneurship should innovate with focus on the market niche. So with respect to the norms for faculty startup, I am skipping one or two points. So for better coordination of entrepreneurial activities, norms for faculty to do startups should be created by the institutes. Only those technologies should be taken for faculty startup which originate within the same institute. The role of faculty in the startup may vary, being a owner, direct promoter, mentor, consultant, or as a board member of the startup. So institute should also work on developing a policy of conflict of interest to ensure that the regular duties of faculty don't suffer owing to his or her involvement in the startup activities. So faculty startup may consist of within the faculty members with a student, or faculty members with other institutes or alumni, or with other entrepreneurs. Now along with this, the another third area is pedagogy and learning interventions for entrepreneurship development. So generally diversified approaches should be adopted to produce desirable learning outcomes, which should include cross-disciplinary learnings using mentor labs, case studies, games, etc. in place of traditional based lecture delivery. So generally student clubs, bodies, department must be created for organizing competition, boot camps and workshops. So institute should also start some annual innovation and entrepreneurship award to generally recognize outstanding ideas. And for creating awareness among students, teaching method should include case studies on business failures, real life experience and experience reported by the startups. Now our system should not be designed for tolerating and encouraging failures. So failure needs to be elaborately discussed and debated to imbibe that failure is a part of life, thus helping in reducing the social stigma associated with it. An innovation champion should be nominated within the student, faculty and staff for each department stream of study. Next the study is collaboration, co-creation, business relationship and knowledge exchange. So generally the stakeholders engagement should be given prime importance in the entrepreneurship agenda of the institute. So institute should find potential partners, research organization, micro and small medium sized entrepreneurships, MSMEs, to support the entrepreneurship and co-design the program. So institute should develop policy and guidelines for forming and managing relationship with external stakeholders including private industries. Then there should be a knowledge exchange through the collaboration and partnership should be made as a part of the institutional policy, and the institute must provide a support mechanism and guidelines for creating and managing and coordinating these relationships. Next is third area is entrepreneurial impact assessment. So impact assessment of institute entrepreneurial initiatives such as pre-incubation, incubation, entrepreneurship education should be performed regularly using well-defined evaluation parameters. Now formulation of strategy and impact assessment should go in hand. The information on impact of these activities should be actively used while developing and reviewing the entrepreneurial strategy. Now in NIT Agartala, this innovation and startup policy has already been framed. So we have taken all the policies that has been given by the Ministry of Higher Education, and based on that NIT Agartala has formulated the startup and innovation policy based on the NISP guidelines. Thank you for hearing this presentation.